Hi, friends. Happy Thursday, and welcome to this live stream Q&A. We've got a lot of really juicy topics to cover today, so I'm going to dive right in. And what I'd like for you to do today is just as questions come up and as thoughts come up, you can just type them in the comments, and I will respond to them from time to time. But we're going to talk about a few really exciting things. And I'll start by saying if you haven't downloaded our ebook yet, this will be the last week that it is available. It's called The Meditation Guide for People Who Think They Can't Meditate. And this is you if you think you're too busy to meditate, or if you think you can't meditate because you can't stop your mind from thinking, or if you don't understand why your meditating friends just seem like they have more time to meditate because their life is just easier. This book is going to really help you, and it's beautifully designed, so you can get that over at zivameditation.com/ebook. And so what this live stream is today is basically I've taken some of the concepts from that ebook that I wanted to elaborate on and give us a time to really interact and for you to share your questions. So I sent out an email on Tuesday, and if you're not on our email list yet, then if you go ahead and download that ebook, then you will be. But I sent out an email on Tuesday talking about something called precognitive commitments, or PCCs. And I'm going to touch on that for a moment because we got a lot of questions about it. People were wanting to know where I found my research. People had some pushback. I had some people who were health coaches and therapists, and they thought that I had invented my own definition of that word, and it's very possible that I did. But I'm going to cite the research from PubMed that I was using, and then I'll talk to you about my interpretation of that research, and then we can have a discussion about it. So if you have questions, if you want to know more, you can just put them in the comments below. And so I'm going to talk about that first, and then our big topic for today, I told you there's a lot to cover today, but our big topic for today is 3 attributes of high performers. Basically, how do you know if your meditation is working or not if you have a practice? And if you don't have a practice, then these are some things that you can sort of look for as your cognitive capabilities and as your state of consciousness starts to up-level. So we'll get there in a moment. So first of all, I'd like to know just who's here, where are you watching from? So you can always type in the comments, just let us know where you're watching from, or just give us a thumbs up, and then I can see who's here. I'll make sure I'm seeing the comments this time. Last time I was having a little trouble with that. So yeah, just to put in the comments where you're watching from, or give us a little heart or a thumbs up. Oh, so we got Donna from Spring, Texas. I've never heard of Spring, Texas. Hi, Ryan from Boston. Nice to see you. And Dina from Nyack. I love it. Just looks like I'm drinking some Chardonnay. I'm not drinking Chardonnay. Hi, Jennifer from Utah. Amazing. Utah is one of my favorite states. Jim, what's up? I miss you. Nice to see you here from Pittsburgh. Eddie from Columbia. I love it. Okay. Also, it's so funny. I see these little angry faces going by. I'm like, why are you angry? From LaGuardia. Is LGA LaGuardia, or is there somewhere else? What? Joe. Nice to see you, Joe. We missed you last week. I'm glad that you're watching from work, and we will not tell your boss, I promise. And Fred from Rockland, welcome you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so let's dive into this email that I sent out on Tuesday, all about precognitive commitments. So what is that? A precognitive commitment, I'm going to define it for you according to PubMed to start, and then I'm going to give you my interpretation of that and how that applies to stress and meditation and your performance. So this is from, it's called premature cognitive commitment, what I would call a PCC. And the way I think about it is little like open windows on your brain machine, which over time can start to slow you down. But here's the really like boring scientific explanation of it. So just bear with me for a minute. I promise it's going to get juicy. So 2 experiments examined the effect that the conditions of initial exposure to information have the mindless processing of that information and its subsequent use. It was hypothesized that the context of initial exposure to information limits its subsequent use. Information initially perceived as irrelevant may be uncritically accepted. If that information later becomes relevant, persons become victims of their premature cognitive commitments. In the first experiment, all subjects received information about perceptual deficits, while the perceived relevance of that information was manipulated. On assessment tests, all subjects found they had this deficit. On follow-up perceptual tasks, the group initially informed that the deficit was seemingly irrelevant, showed severe performance decrements relative to other groups. The second experiment used a similar procedure for a perceptual skill rather than a deficit. Here, subjects initially exposed to irrelevant information performed more productively than subjects initially exposed to relevant information. These results indicate the conditions surrounding initial exposure to information limit its subsequent use. The implications of these data for social, psychological, and physical symptoms are discussed. Okay, so I know that's a lot of medical jargon, and it's very possible that I'm potentially misinterpreting this data, and I'm open to having that debate, but I'm gonna tell you my interpretation of it and sort of the analogy and how this makes sense in my brain. So if you think about every single time you've ever been stressed in your whole life, anytime you've gotten bad news, anytime you launched into fight or flight, or basically anytime your body got into that involuntary fight or flight stress reaction, it's left a number of precognitive commitments or open windows on your brain machine. So let's say that you're crossing the street one day and you're listening to your favorite Adele song and you're eating some delicious strawberries, and a car runs a stop sign and almost hits you. Like it just, and it slams on its brake and it gets like this close to hitting you. And so you obviously see it and your body's gonna launch into a fight or flight stress reaction. And P.S., that is a totally appropriate time for your body to launch into fight or flight. Okay, so you get stressed. But the cab did not hit you, the car did not hit you, you're fine, you walk away. Now, about 2 weeks later, you're at the club dancing with your friends, and that same Adele song comes on that used to be your favorite song. That comes on the loudspeaker, and all of a sudden you get like, I don't feel so good. You know, I think I'm gonna go. And you go ahead and leave. And then you get home and your roommate is making some strawberry cake and you smell it, and it was a surprise. She was making it for your birthday because you used to love strawberries, and all of a sudden you smell the strawberries and you're like, oh, God, that smells disgusting. What are you making? And she's like, I was making cake for you. Strawberry is your favorite. So basically the chord change that happened at the very instant that that car almost hit you, and the smell and taste of strawberries have now been registered as potentially life-threatening, because that was irrelevant information that was happening at the time that your body launched into fight or flight. And this harkens back to 10,000 years ago when we were hunting and gathering in the woods. When that tiger jumped out at you, let's say if you were gathering in like a juniper field, well, now your brain knows that it's possible that tigers hang out in juniper fields. Or if it was really cold and cloudy, okay, well, you now know that it's more likely that tigers are going to jump out when it's cold and cloudy. So your brain is basically always looking for information. It's like, oh, is this going to help me or is this going to hurt me? And so just because something happened that threatened your life or that caused you to be stressed doesn't mean that every single thing that was in your perception at that moment was life-threatening. And so the trick here is that the older we get, the more of these precognitive commitments we have open on our brain machine, because the more times we've been into fight or flight. Now, age is not the only factor here. It's possible that if you're like a child soldier or something, you have a lot more precognitive commitments than someone who's 70 and has had a really low demand life. But for most of us, the older we are, the more time we have to collect these precognitive commitments. And basically it slows you down. It's like having a lot of open windows on your brain machine, and then let's say you had 10 million windows open on your computer and you went to type an email and that cursor was 20 spaces behind. And you think, well, this computer can't even type an email. Well, that's not really true. The computer can type an email, but if it's using so much of its computing and battery power to run those old irrelevant windows, then it's not really functioning as it potentially could. So what we do when we meditate is that we not only close out those windows, but what happens first is that we have to maximize those windows because they've been minimized so that we can just survive. And then what we do when we meditate is we actually open up those windows, we maximize them so that we can click X and get rid of it so that it's not even an issue anymore. So anyway, I hope that clarifies some of the questions that were coming up around that. Oh, good. Okay, so perhaps I misquoted that. So Jennifer's saying premature cognitive commitments versus precognitive commitments. So that was my mistake. Okay, good. Good. Okay, so let me know, does that make sense to you? Do you want more clarification around that? Just give me like a thumbs up if that made sense. And if you want more clarification, just type some question marks in the comments and I will know if I should elaborate on that or not. So now I would like to move on to 3 attributes of high performers. AKA, how will you know if your meditation is working? So this is one of my very favorite things to talk about because regardless of what's going on in your life, or even if you have a meditation practice yet or not, sort of knowing what these attributes are of high performers, what these attributes are of people who are in higher states of consciousness, it gives us a little bit of a roadmap. It gives us some guidance as to A, what kind of meditation we want to practice, B, is our practice working? So 3 attributes of higher states of consciousness. Let's start by defining what consciousness is. I would define consciousness as the animating force inside of you. It is the thing that makes you alive. And everything is expressing consciousness, but to varying degrees, right? So I'm expressing consciousness. If you have a puppy dog in the room with you, that dog is expressing consciousness. Plants, flowers, rocks, kombucha, all of it. Anything that's alive, it's expressing some form of consciousness. Now, the more consciousness we have, more joy, more serendipity, more flow, more feeling like you're in the right place at the right time. Less consciousness, more feeling like you're alone, more feeling isolated, more feeling like you're hitting your head up against the wall and that life just feels frustrating and challenging all the time. So if we want to have more of this consciousness thing, how do we know how much of it we have? Well, that's where these 3 attributes come into play. So the first one is the ability to hold many things in one awareness. Right? So the ability to hold many things in one awareness. And no, I'm not talking about multitasking. I'm talking about a simultaneity of consciousness. Right? So right now I'm at Ziva and I know what I want to talk about. I know what I'm going to talk about next. I know how quickly comments are coming up in the feed. I know that Veronica, our amazing Ziva team member, is here helping me out. I know that my family is at home and I've got all these things happening in my awareness at the same time. And all the while this little baby is like doing somersaults and backflips and kicking me because it's a very, very active baby. Now I'm not multitasking. I'm with you, right? I'm here. And I want to be giving you guys as much of my attention as possible, but inevitably there's going to be other things going on in my environment, right? And so focusing would imply that we're just like, that we're putting on blinders and we're just going to ignore everything else and we're just going to focus in. And there are times that focusing is really relevant, but I would argue that it's actually more relevant and more valuable to be able to eradicate stress from your nervous system so that you can pull the lens way, way out and actually start to practice the simultaneity of consciousness, holding many things in one awareness at the same time. And I think this is valuable no matter what your job is. If you're a stay-at-home mom, I hear you better be able to hold many things in one awareness. If you're running your own company, yes, I can attest to this. You better be able to hold many things in one awareness. You're walking down the street in Manhattan, you better be able to hold many things in one awareness. So what's happening here is that in the style of meditation that we teach at Ziva, we're going in and we're de-exciting the nervous system and we're inducing very deep healing rest. And that rest is getting rid of your stress, not only from the right now, but also your stress from the past. And the less stress you have from your past in your body, that's the equivalent of going down and shutting down those windows, which is the very thing that increases your computing and cognitive abilities in the right here, right now. So this is a big reason why meditators perform 40% higher on basically being able to do tasks quickly, accurately, and all while remaining calm. Okay, so that's thing 1, the ability to hold many things in one awareness. Second attributes of high performers is the ability to detect subtlety. So stay with me on this, all right? What does subtlety mean? No 2 things are the same. No 2 potential jobs, no 2 potential relationships, no 2 potential grapefruits at the grocery store. Okay, so life is giving us all a constant stream of decisions to make. And I'm going to make a pretty tall claim right now. The more you meditate, the less likely you are to make a mistake. And you probably heard me say that before. And it's not impossible. I make plenty of mistakes, but I make a lot less of them now than I did 11 years ago before I started meditating, right? So why on earth would meditation make you less likely to make a mistake? Well, we first have to understand what a mistake is, right? It's a mistake. We took something to be one thing when actually it was something else. So we have this thing over here, and it looks like it's A, B, and C, and it dresses like it's A, B, and C, and it tells us that it's A, B, and C, and we really, really want it to be A, B, and C. Maybe we even marry A, B, and C, and then, we find out it's actually D, E, and F, right? Now, here's the thing. If you want something to be A, B, and C bad enough, it is very easy to put on blinders to what is. It's very easy to convince yourself that it was A, B, and C when actually it was D, E, and F. So there's a beautiful line in the Vedas, and you guys have heard me talk about the Vedas by now, but the Vedas is an ancient body of knowledge. And there's a beautiful line in the Vedas, and it says, the truth waits for eyes unclouded by longing. The truth waits for eyes unclouded by longing. And I love this quote very, very much because we've all been there. We have all wanted that job to be the job so bad that we put on blinders to what was. We've all wanted that person to be the person so badly that we just ignored the fact that he didn't tip the waitress and was screaming at his mom and was drinking too much. Or maybe that was just me. We've all wanted that grapefruit to be the grapefruit so bad that we just grabbed it and ran out the store, and then we got home and had a rotten grapefruit. I mean, that's a dumb example, but you know what I mean. So basically, how does meditation help with this? Well, what meditation is doing is that it is giving you access to your bliss and fulfillment in the only place that they reside, which is inside of you, right? Now, every spiritual text has been teaching this since the beginning of time. What you seek is in you. We have a giant mural painted of it on our wall here at our studio, Aziva. What you seek is in you. The kingdom of heaven is within. And this is not an Emily Fletcher concept. This is just a concept. And it's great to get that as like an intellectual idea, but that's not going to change your life. What will change your life is you being able to access that bliss and fulfillment every single day, viscerally, physically, twice a day. And that, in no uncertain terms, is what Ziva meditation does for you. It gives you the tools to de-excite your nervous system so that you can access your fulfillment internally. Now, if that's all it did for you, it would be fun, it would be nice, it would feel nice. What's happening neurochemically there is that within 30 to 45 seconds of you starting Ziva, your brain and body flood with dopamine and serotonin, which are bliss chemicals, right? So it feels nice when you're doing it, but if that's all it did for you, then it's no better than any other drug. But the cool thing about meditation is that not only does it feel nice when you're doing it, but when you come out of that meditation, that dopamine and serotonin hangs out in your body and in your brain for a little while. And because you've accessed your fulfillment internally, you're no longer under the illusion that it lies on the other side of any person, place, or thing. And so what that does is that it wipes some of that longing away from your lens of perception, which allows you to see things more accurately for what they are, which in turn makes you less likely to make a mistake. So I know this was a big, long journey, but thank you guys for staying with me. But hopefully you understand now that meditation helps you to make less mistakes because it allows you to see the subtle differences in things, the ability to detect subtlety, the subtle differences in jobs, the subtle differences in relationships, the subtle differences in which path you want to take to work, right? And so what we're doing, it's not magic. It's just a return on investment. You get to the chair every day, twice a day, you're going to start to see that that longing is wiped away from your lens of perception, which allows you to see things more objectively, more judiciously. So I just want to know if this is resonating with you guys. So just in the comments, I want to know, what have you, this is kind of the same question as what we talked about before, but it's not when have you been in like the I'll be happy when syndrome, but if you're willing to share, like what have you ever made a mistake about? Like something that you thought was one thing and then you found out that it was something else. And if it's super personal, you don't have to share, but I'm curious to know if this has happened to anyone else. I'm going to think about some that I have done. Thankfully, not my husband. I thought he was A, B, and C, and turns out it is he is A, B, and C. He's amazing. Tammy's noticing that she's less reactive with work mistakes. So I'm trying to think, like, what would be a good example of this? Something that you thought was a mistake. I've definitely done it with job contracts before, like certainly when I was an actress. Like I would want the job to be the magical job so bad, and I would convince myself that this job was going to be the job that was going to just make my career, and then I would forget to read the out clause in the contract, or I would forget to like make sure they were reimbursing me for my travel or something, and like someone like pays you like $1,000 for a gig, but then it costs you $2,000 in travel. So I did a lot of that back in my early 20s when I was an actress, because I was so clouded by longing. Like I just wanted it so bad, and so I was willing to make a lot of mistakes. I was willing to convince myself that something was something that it was not. So Shimon is sharing jobs, friendships, relationships. David is saying my marriage was like that, but I mean this in a cultural sense. So I think, I don't want to remove it. Tell me more, Deva. Oh, Elizabeth saying breaking up with a past boyfriend, immediately realized how wrong we were for each other. Yep, that'll happen. So David saying we thought we were not culturally that different, but we had so much cultural differences. Yeah, that can happen. Terry saying I made a commitment to someone and that turned into just so much garbage. So, you know, relationships are a tricky one, right? Because it's like we think that if we don't stay married forever, or if we don't have kids and a white picket fence, then it's like a failure. But I just want to say, A, thank you guys so much for sharing these experiences. And B, I really believe that relationships exist to teach us our lessons. And so if you learned a lesson from it, then it has served its job. And the best relationships are the ones that keep teaching you, where you keep evolving together and you keep choosing to up-level and teaching each other lessons. So, okay, so third attribute of high performers, or third attribute of higher states of consciousness, and this is the ability to detect themes. So what's a theme? It's a pattern, and nature's working in patterns all the time. And usually, if we can't see the theme of the pattern yet, we just haven't pulled the lens back far enough. But most of us are real experts when it comes to other people's themes. You know, we all know the advice to give to our roommate, to our sister, to our boyfriend, but it's not so easy for most of us to be able to detect our own themes and patterns. But you guys, that's the only thing that matters. We're not in charge of anyone else's themes. We're not in charge of anyone else's patterns. We literally cannot change anyone else or make someone else change. I do think you can help people change, otherwise I'd be out of a job. But I don't think you can make people want to change. I think that's on them. So basically what I'm saying is, let's please all absolve ourselves of any responsibility of needing to fix or heal or make anyone else want to change. What we can do, and what's really our only job, is to clean our own house, right? We can only start to see and notice and shift our own themes and patterns. And here's the news: the less stress you have in your body, the easier it is for you to pull that lens of your awareness back. And because you're holding many things in one awareness, you can start to see the whole forest instead of just one tree in front of your face. So if we go back to this analogy of, or this concept of holding many things in one awareness, I want to say just like the best way I have to describe what it feels like to be in a higher state of consciousness versus a lower state of consciousness is basically what it feels like to be more or less awake. Right? So imagine how you feel if you've slept for like 9 or 10 hours and you wake up and you're like, oh, yes, I am ready for this day. Versus how you feel if you've only slept for like 2 or 3 hours. This is basically the difference of what it feels like to be in higher or lower states of consciousness, because you quite literally are making yourself more awake over time. The deep rest that you give yourself with Ziva meditation, this is the thing that's making you increasingly more awake on the other side, aka increasingly more conscious. Right? So more consciousness you have, the easier it is to hold many things in one awareness, and therefore it's easier for you to be able to see and detect your own themes and patterns. Right? So this frees you up to put your time and your attention on the creative, constructive themes in your life and take it away from the destructive themes in your life. Okay, so that was like a big picture overview of 3 attributes of high performers, how to tell if your meditation is working. And now I want to hear from you guys. Those of you who have a practice already, if you want to share how this has shown up in your life, what shifted. If you don't have a practice yet, tell me what your questions are. How can I help? What ways are you interested in improving your performance? What ways are you interested in learning meditation so that you can really start to perform at the top of your game consistently all the time? So 2 questions. If you have a meditation, and I would say specifically for my Ziva meditators, those of you who've been through training with me, I want to hear like how your life is changing, how you're noticing this stuff showing up in your life. And if you're not, let's talk about that too. And those of you who don't yet have a practice, I want to hear what you're interested in. Like how do you personally want to up-level your performance? Is it at work? Is it in your relationships? Do you want to be more patient with your kids? Do you want to be more innovative, more creative? That's what I want to hear from you guys. And in the meantime, those of you who got that email from me on Tuesday, you know that I alluded to some really, really big news that we're going to be sharing next week. And I'm like, I feel like a little kid at Christmas. I'm like, are we there yet? Is it time yet? Is it time to open the presents? My team and I have been working on this project for somewhere between 15 to 18 months at this point, and next week is the week that we unveil everything and the week that we share all of the news with you guys, and I'm so ridiculously excited about it. And so if you want to make sure that you're the very first to hear about it, you can go to zivameditation.com/early access, and that means you're going to skip all the bells and whistles and you can just go straight to the good stuff. So zivameditation.com/early access if you haven't yet. Okay, so Ryan is sharing, I know you're a Ziva meditator, Ryan, and he's been able to be more patient and empathetic in stressful situations. So that is amazing, Ryan. Bravo. And what's happening there, the reason why meditators are more empathic is that meditation connects something called the insula, which is the empathy center of the brain, with your dorsomedial prefrontal cortex, which is the piece of your brain that processes information about people that we perceive as separate. So what we found is that meditators are not only more empathetic to people that they love, but also to people that they perceive as different or separate. So that's amazing. So Donna's saying, I want to be disciplined enough to begin and stay with a regular exercise program. Good, Donna. That's so amazing. Good for you. And what I found is that the combination of exercise and meditation is so powerful. A lot of people, they come to me and they're a little concerned. They're like, well, should I meditate first or exercise first? I'm like, you guys, here's the reality. If you're meditating every day, twice a day, and exercising every day, your life is going to be amazing. So don't worry too much about the timing. But what I've found on it is that a lot of our graduates find that it's much easier for them to commit to other healthy practices when they wake up and start their day with meditation. So Jim is sharing, I've noticed some of my emotional walls coming down. I meet people more easily, I'm in a better mood to meet people, and I'm far more likely to join and become involved. Oh, Jim, that makes me so happy. Thank you for sharing that. And I've noticed that. I mean, I follow you on Facebook, and so I feel like I can just see, there's like a softening to the tone of your posts, and there's like, I feel more empathy behind them when you're on or off the wagon. And so bravo. I'm so glad that that is happening for you. Stacy, what's up, my love? I love you so much. How's my sweet angel? So Stacy's saying she's so excited about our big news next week. Me too. Good. All right, so here we go. Okay, so Shimon is saying, I don't have a practice. Yoga has been amazing in bringing me to center. I want to up my game with meditation. My journey now is about unraveling my true essence and authenticity, basically up-level my entire life. Well, get ready, Shimon. Are you a woman or a man? I would say, I get so excited about meditation, and I know I sometimes sound like a used car salesman because I'm like, meditation does this and this and this and this and this, but it's true, it does. It will up-level your whole life because stress can make your whole life worse. So if all meditation is doing for you is getting rid of the stress in your body, then it actually has the capacity to impact every other area of your life. But I'm so glad that you have a yoga practice already. Shimon, I think that's really gonna help you. And because yoga was designed to prepare the body for meditation, and it seems like it's preparing your life for it. So Veronica's noticing that she's less reactive with her significant other during tough conversations. And I may have pulled back the lens on my patterns within that relationship. Yes, that's so good. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, good. Ryan's appreciating the extra neuro info. Oh, hi, Emily. Okay, so I'm an inconsistent meditator. When I do meditate, I'm definitely more able to cope with day-to-day stresses. You're a stay-at-home mom. Bravo. Good for you. Some very big things happening in my life. I'm starting a part-time job. I'm buying a house. I'm having a very hard time staying grounded. Lots of swirling vata energy. Whoa. But life is getting better for sure. So Emily, first of all, like, bravo. I can only imagine buying a house and being a stay-at-home mom and starting a job. Like, that's a lot of demand to deal with all at once. And it's very easy to get in that story of, I don't have time to meditate. My kids need me. My job needs me. These papers need signing for the house. But there's always going to be more emails to answer. Your kids will always need you. And the reality is, if you don't take time to prioritize yourself, then we can't pour from an empty cup, right? If you try to give to your family, to give to your new job, to give to the decorating and the signing of the house, but you are depleted, then nothing ends up happening. But if you take the time to tap into the source of energy, the source of fulfillment, and then you engage in being a mother, engage in the job, engage in buying the house from that place of fulfillment, then life becomes infinitely more elegant, infinitely more enjoyable. So bravo to you for wanting to be more committed. Okay, so Terry's saying, I found as a result of meditation, the almost instantaneous action of giving the negativity of another's personality to the universe to take care of. And I don't worry what happens because the universe is taking care of what's best for all involved. Wow, bravo, Terry. That sounds like a really advanced skill. And you know, it's so easy to take other people's stuff personally, and other people's energy when it's negative can feel so toxic. And we think, well, you know, why are they taking that out on us? Or what can I do to fix it? But the reality is, it's not ours to fix. And sometimes the best thing we can do is simply to love them. And I like this, where you're sort of like redirecting it, being like, hey, nature, hey, universe, like, maybe give this person some love. Maybe you take this one. And I'm just going to love them from afar. I was with some girlfriends last night. You know, last night was like a super moon, new moon, blue moon. I'm not super into the stars and planets and astrology, but apparently last night was like a really powerful moon of some sort. And so some of my witchy girlfriends got together and we did a ceremony, and it was really beautiful. But one of them was sharing, she's hilarious. And she was having like this, like one of the best days of her life. She was on this TV show that she'd always wanted to be on since she was a kid, and she was performing. And then the woman who was also performing with her was sitting next to her, and she was like sick and negative and like kind of being like Debbie Downer. And but meanwhile, my friend is having like the best day of her life, and her friend was like complaining, and my friend just looks at her and she goes, "Good vibes," and then like turned around, basically like used her positivity as a weapon, which I'm not suggesting, but I thought it was hilarious. But this seems like you're doing perhaps a more subtle and elegant version of that, Terry. Okay, so Dwayne is saying, I need to learn to calm mind. Stress creates pain. I lost my mom to grueling ALS last year. I do high-intensity interval training workouts, yoga, chiro, acupuncture, dry needling, physical therapy, ultrasound, trying to meditate on my own for years, not working. Been following you for 6 months. I need your outlook in life. I need to meditate twice a day. Notice that when I'm not stressed, there are times that my pain goes away. I need to learn to meditate. Okay, Dwayne, thank you so much for sharing this. And first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry that you lost your mom. I can only imagine how intense that was, and it sounds like she was sick for a while. And so please be gentle with yourself. You know, that is a lot of demand to handle. No matter how you lose your parent, it's an incredibly challenging thing. And I love that you're taking care. It sounds like you're taking really good care of your physical body right now. And I'm so excited for you to experience what we're going to be unveiling next week. It sounds like it's perfect for you. And it's going to help you to heal your internal just as much as you've been working on healing your external. And yes, there have been a lot of studies coming out recently connecting pain to stress. Actually, if you go to our Ziva Vault, so zivameditation.com/Ziva Vault, and just search pain, there is a guided visualization there for pain. And I talk a little bit more about some of the new science that's coming out around that. but it's pretty fascinating. And the thing that's really moving the needle there is mindfulness. And I don't talk about mindfulness too much, but it is actually a part of the new Ziva technique, which the new Ziva technique is this beautiful trifecta of mindfulness, meditation, and manifesting. And to my knowledge, Ziva is the only place that you can really learn all three of these tools in this specific way. And mindfulness in particular, I think, can really help specifically with the pain. But the meditation part is the thing that's going to get rid of the overall stress. So Dwayne, bravo to you for taking such good care of your body. Thank you for taking care of your mom. And I'm excited to share this news with you next week. Good. So Gael is saying, with meditation, I'm less reactive. I'm more compassionate because I quickly understand the roots of someone else's issue because everything's linked to fear. I can't spend a day without meditating. It's part of my ritual and it's improved my life so much since then. Gael, oh, that's amazing to hear. Bravo. And you're right. If we all had the full story, you know, if we really understood someone else's beginning, middle, and end, then forgiveness would be irrelevant, right? I know I shared that a lot like 3 months ago when we started this whole journey, but it sounds like you've really internalized that. So bravo. Tova's saying, my meditation has up-leveled my bravery. Bravery to trust my heart, to follow my inner desires, even when it means huge risks. Also a lot less self-doubt and fear of failure than before I started my practice 1.5 years ago. Tova, that's amazing. And Tova, I think you are, but remind me, are you a Ziva meditator or are you doing something else? But I love this, like the risk thing. That you become, yes, you become braver. Risks aren't as scary because you see that the stuff out here can't make you or break you. If you have a tool to access your bliss and fulfillment internally every day, twice a day, then the stuff out here doesn't seem so important anymore. So it doesn't even really feel like such a big risk. So that's amazing. Fred is saying that meditation really helps him manage stress, lowering blood sugar, proven even by my doctor. Good. Tell your doctor to call me. Tell your doctor to start prescribing Ziva meditation. Because Udina has been doing our other online training for 2.5 years. Amazing. She bounces back more quickly from emotional stress, more discipline to exercise. So I hope you're listening to that. I think Donna is your name. And I still have trouble seeing my own patterns. Yeah, Dina, I get that. I mean, the thing is, we're all in it when we're in it, you know? So I would say, if you start to get an inkling that you're like, oh, I think there's a pattern playing out here, but I'm not sure what it is, perhaps even in your waking state, just close your eyes and kind of drop in. Just take a few breaths and see if you can access that centered place that you access during your meditations. And just, when you open your eyes, look at the problem from this place. Excuse me. So look at that, look at the problem from that centered inner like gut place versus trying to analyze it with your intellectual left brain and see how that goes. So Stacy's sharing, I find that the quality of my mind chatter is so much better. The involuntary thoughts are as frequent as before meditation, but the stories I'm telling myself are much more enjoyable, less toxic, and not so full of judgment and criticism of myself or others. Oh, Stacy, that is so beautiful, and I'm so happy to hear it. And you know, view as PS, Stacy's my best friend, has been my best friend since childhood, and it's been really remarkable to watch how your life has unfolded and up-leveled and changed and grown, not only from meditation, but also being such an incredible mom and all the work that you've done. But thank you for sharing that. That's really, really beautiful. And so Tova, yes, you do Ziva. I was right. Okay, good. Dwayne, bless you. Thank you. I like it, real time. Okay, so Nancy's saying the forgiveness guided visualization that I led really helped with forgiving my mom. This allowed me to really be there for her now when she really needs me. Good, Nancy, bravo, way to do that work. I'm really happy to hear that. All right, you guys, whoo, that was a big one. We covered a lot of material today. We covered precognitive commitments, or premature cognitive commitments. Thank you for correcting me, Jennifer. And then we covered 3 attributes of high performers, AKA attributes of higher states of consciousness. Thank you guys for sharing so beautifully and bravely. I'm constantly inspired by you. And I'm so excited to share our new baby with you guys next week. So be on the lookout for an email from us. Some of you guys will get it early. If you've signed up at zivameditation.com/early access, then you're going to get notified early. And for everyone else, you're going to get notified on Thursday. So make sure you mark your inbox. And I'm really going to be calling on you guys because we have a big mission with this. We want to get this thing out to 4 million people. We want to get 4 million people experiencing our new thing that's coming. So I'm going to be calling on you guys to help us get the word out there and help us post about it. So in the meantime, if you have friends that you think would enjoy this group, you can invite them to join the Ziva tribe, and then they can be around. So we're going to do a live stream next Thursday as well, announcing our big news. So our goal is to get to 5,000 people before next Thursday. So if each of you watching this invited 10 people, we would be there. So you could just tag 10 of your friends, or what's the best way for them to share the group? On the right side of the page. Okay. So on the right side, you can enter your Facebook friend's name or their email, and then press enter, and that just includes them in the tribe?
Yes.
Yeah, they don't even have to answer any questions. We don't have to approve them. You guys actually have the power to include your friends in this tribe. We trust you. We love you. So if you have people that you think would benefit from this tribe, bring them on in. We want to get to 5,000 before next Thursday so that we can reach our big goal of getting 4 million people experiencing our free gift that we're going to be sharing next week. All right, you guys, I love you so much. Thank you for taking this time to invest in your brain, in your body. I really believe that as you up-level yourself, you help to up-level the collective, and the world needs it right now, right? The world needs to be blasted with love. It needs a lot of bliss, a lot of consciousness, and a lot less stress. So thank you for doing this work. It is an honor to be on this journey with you, and I will see you next week. Bye.